Am I the asshole for going behind my mum's back to get a diagnosis? So background to this. I, 17M, have a twin sister, 17F. Our parents have always kind of had us compete with each other and are especially sticklers for academics. My sister has always done much better than me on that front. TBH, I've always found school very frustrating. It's not like I'm thick or anything. I know loads of stuff and often know the answers in class. I've just always struggled with focusing and putting my thoughts together coherently in a way teachers like. I also have a horrible memory, so exams are a nightmare. I can study and study and study something for hours sometimes and still not remember it when it comes to the test. And that's when I can study. Sometimes I honestly really want to, but I just can't. Like I'll sit there, staring at my workbook for ages and there's just some block where I can't do it. My parents just kind of ignore all this and tell me to study harder like my sister. I try some of her study methods, and some of them help, but mostly they don't work for me. I always kinda thought I was just doomed to be shit at education. The situation: I started dating a boy about a year ago whose big sister is a psychologist. A few months ago, he and I were talking about school while she was in the room and she kinda said, "Sorry to butt in, but have you ever been tested for ADHD?" I said I hadn't, because I didn't think I had it. The image I had of ADHD was always the rambunctious kid who played class clown, which is very much not me. She explained that wasn't always the case and a lot of the things I was describing sounded like ADHD symptoms. I relayed this to my parents and they both, especially my mum, got upset and said that I'm just looking for a way to not take accountability and that ADHD didn't exist in their day. I got upset, but talked to my BF's sister again, and she pointed me in the right direction to go and talk to people about it without my parents overseeing. Obviously with the Rona, it was difficult, but I managed to get the necessary appointments and finally had it confirmed that I have ADHD. Now my parents are mad. They keep on about how I'm just trying to remove responsibility and how they don't recognize the diagnosis as valid. They've also said they don't want me talking to my boyfriend anymore, saying his family are a bad influence. We're both upset about it. Was it a bad idea for me to go get the diagnosis when they told me not to? Sue. Absolutely not the asshole. After reading the first paragraph it seemed like classic ADD without the hyperactive, but why go behind their backs instead of looping them in? How were you able to get a specialist appointment without your parents' consent? Go vent your age and insurance, unless where you live the protocols are different. Update to post. Didn't realize that ADD was no longer a diagnosis but rather ADHD manifests as both internal and external hyperactivity. It's been a long time since I researched it. Thanks y'all for helping me to understand. Not the asshole. ADHD didn't exist in our day, is plainly false. It is just that medical science, especially on mental health, has made such advancements that we are much better at understanding and treating hidden mental illness conditions. There still remains a taboo around mental health, and it is people like your parents who perpetuate those sorts of views. It sounds like your BF's family is actually much more supportive than your actual family. Absolutely not the asshole and good on you for seeking help so young. Since you're still a minor, you'll need a way to deal with your parents being such buttheads about your diagnosis. Maybe the person who diagnosed you can help with that. But perhaps the most useful thing right now would be to consistently tell your parents that, whether or not they believe it, you aren't looking to avoid responsibility. You want to get help so you can take better responsibility for things in ways that work for you. And point out instances in which you've succeeded. Not the asshole. So in a nutshell, your parents deny that medical conditions exist. What else do they not believe in? I really hope they read through this thread once it's been up for a few hours and realize how shitty and damaging they really are. Not the asshole. This is your life and you shouldn't feel bad for trying to potentially improve it. Life is hard enough as it is. Not the asshole. Get yourself the help and medication you need. There are genetic factors, so chances are one of your parents has it too. Might want to point that out. Medication for ADHD can have a very positive life-changing effect. Not the asshole. You may find it useful to look at scapegoat golden child dynamics. Good luck. One of the clearest not the assholes ever. Your parents had their chance to try to help you once you had suspected the problem. They chose not to. Not the asshole. It's really common for girls with ADHD to go undiagnosed for years because it often manifests differently. Girls are not as hyper, but they tend to lose focus just as easily. Getting tested and treated is the best move, especially if you're looking into going to university, where a multiple of resources will be available to help you with this. Your parents are idiots for not wanting what's best for you. Not the asshole. You did the right thing. My parents were similar. Not really believing there was anything wrong with me, just that I was lazy and needed to try harder. Now I'm getting tested as an adult. So much could have been easier for me if I'd have had access to meds years ago. Make sure you have your diagnosis on paper, or better yet, digitally. If you decide go to college, let them know. Some colleges have special accommodations. Please contact your school yourself to inform them of your recent diagnosis. Also inform them that your parents are being unsupportive at home. Good for you op, they can make accommodations now to help you find the right way for you to learn. Not the asshole. This makes me so mad. Your parents are dickheads. Sorry to be so blunt and outspoken. But they absolutely are. Diagnoses don't need their fucking approval. They clearly see your diagnosis as something they did wrong as parents, like they produced an impure kid or some crazy bullshit like that. Wow. Just fucking wow. Their selfishness is astounding. Like, would they really rather deny it and punish you over understanding and doing whatever they can to help you? Unbelievable. Your parents sound like my parents. You can't have anything wrong with you cause there's nothing wrong with us and we raised you right. Not the asshole. It's better to know now that you have ADHD and be able to handle it than be 30 and still struggle. Not the asshole. It is your right to go to a medical professional if you think something is wrong. You deserve the medical care you need. And ADHD is not an excuse, it is a reason explanation. You are not just easily distracted, you get diagnosed when all your symptoms interfere with your everyday life. You can't tell someone with bad eyesight to just see better, you give them glasses. By the way, there are a lot of study techniques that work better for people with ADHD, tomorrow timer, repetition, game learning. The gist of all of them is that you get rewards for what you do. Good luck, and ignore your parents, they should educate themselves about ADHD. Not the asshole, your parents are the asshole here. Good thing is that you're almost 18 and you'll be an adult. It's good that you did get your diagnosis, which allows you to do something about the way you handle things. Your parents put their head in the sand and that's not the best way to go through life. Not the asshole. There's nothing wrong with essentially being an adult and taking care of yourself. Isn't that what parents are supposed to be raising us to be able to do? Don't worry if your parents are mad or stay mad for a while. They'll eventually get over it. It's your job, as their kid, to piss them off every once in a while. NTA. At all. Getting an ADHD diagnosis will likely help you. My nephew has it and the change in him once diagnosed and medicated is amazing. Doing so much better in school and at home. ADHD did exist when your parents were young, it was just that nobody knew what it was and it was put down to naughty children, who, if from the UK in my mum and dad's school years, just got given the belt or the ruler for being bad. Not the asshole. Your parents are crap for not supporting you. If anything, if they care about you and believe in what they say, they should ask for a second expert opinion. Also till the word rambunctious. Not the asshole. I'm a final year UK student who just started ADHD medication having had symptoms since I was like 5. You have done yourself a huge favor, I wish I had done years before. Your family sound like they don't really have your back, so I don't think you acted the wrong way in getting diagnosed, but now I'd suggest trying to make the case that they're wrong on this one, but don't avoid treatment because it's going to upset them. This is something that will very likely help you. The book Delivered from Distraction is good for ADHD tips and may also serve to help get your parents on side. They may be concerned about online influences causing self-diagnosis, which is mostly BS, but having a physical book may help them take it more seriously. Not the asshole. You should always take care of your health. Both your physical and mental health. Good on you for seeking a diagnosis, and I hope you find a good balance with any therapies or medication you wish to try. Maybe instead of speaking in terms of past performance, you could speak to your parents about how this diagnosis will have an effect on your future studies. That you believe it will help achieve even better marks going forward? They are definitely the AHs here, but it may be better for you all to begin working on making your future as successful as possible rather than squabbling over what could have been? Not the asshole, and your parents are big-time assholes. Pitting two siblings against each other in life is an awful thing to do, and them denying ADHD's existence and calling it an excuse to shrug of responsibility shows they value your sister over you. I would just ride out your time, then cut contact with your parents as soon as you move out. They don't respect you from what it sounds like. Not the asshole. If they don't think it's a valid diagnosis, they can help you get a second opinion. 100% not the asshole. Fair play for getting your diagnosis, because you've taken a huge step that will help you immensely. There's so many misconceptions about ADHD, ADD, and it's so misunderstood. Maybe you could print off some information about it for your parents and also how it inhibits your everyday life. If they're not receptive, please don't let them invalidate how you feel. What they're currently doing comparing you and your twin is like seeing who can run a mile the fastest, but you have 2 broken legs. Also, there's a great subreddit for people with ADHD, and also a lot of Facebook groups UK specific you could join. Hey, I'm sorry this is happening to you, it's so stressful. But you're 17, you have a medical condition, and now you know about it and can make decisions based on this information. That is good news and a reason to celebrate. I'm sorry your parents aren't interested in knowing more about you. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. I'm also in the UK and I also was diagnosed with ADHD a few days ago. Your parents are probably deflecting, as it means that they'll have to take accountability for ignoring or not picking up on your needs. My psychologist said it is common for parents to be in denial for multiple reasons. Seems this one is just another reason. Good luck with your chosen treatment path, if any. Huge not the asshole. I was diagnosed with ADHD in kindergarten along with dyslexia. My parents totally ignored my ADHD because I wasn't hyper enough and they thought the experts were wrong. Long story short, I failed out of college 2 course shy. I'm planning on going back after I start treatment, but I'm now years behind my classmates. Ignoring a problem doesn't make it go away. ADHD is such a supportive sub. Check it out if you want success stories or a chance to vent, empathize with your fellow chemically imbalanced folk. ADHD didn't exist in their day. We neither did COVID-19, yet here we are. Not the asshole. I have ADHD and wasn't diagnosed until my early 30s. I'm not at all hyperactive, because that's just one type of the condition, not to mention I'm a woman and early studies were only done on boys, so girls and the ways we present got completely erased. My issues are largely with inattention and executive function, both of which make school difficult. I went from straight A's in high school because I could get by without studying to C's in college where I couldn't. ADHD existed in their day. It has always existed. We just didn't always have a name for it. ETA. The "I want to but I just can't" sounds a lot like executive dysfunction. Do a little Googling and read up on it because there are ways to work with it. Not the asshole. I am 27 years old and was just diagnosed with ADHD over the summer. Your entire first paragraph, I thought, oh my, this girl is ME. She has ADHD. Baby girl, you go get your diagnosis. It will absolutely change your life. If you're prescribed Adderall, use GoodRx to get it for a lot cheaper. It won't have to go through insurance at all. You show the pharmacist the coupon and they apply it. My prescription has gone from $200 to $40 for a month's worth, but if you get their gold membership for $5 per month, the prescription goes down to $20. ADHD is so real, so tough to deal with. But also so treatable. You deserve help. If you ever need an ear or some advice, my PMs are always open for you. Not the asshole. My sis got diagnosed with ASD at age 21 and never got any of the help in school. You are well within your right to get a diagnosis. And the beat thing you can do right now is let your school know so they can accommodate. Your parents need to get their head out of their ass and stop holding you to the same standards as your sister. My mom, teacher, always told parents who resisted diagnosis or treatment, if your child was diabetic you would give them insulin to allow their body chemistry to level out. Why is this any different? Your child is beautifully unique and through modern medicine we have the tools to help them achieve their very best. It's cruel not to help them. I think this fits here. I have ADHD and my brother is off the charts. With medication he's incredibly successful. You did the right thing. Not the asshole. Please talk to boyfriend's sister to get resources on how to get out of this neglectful, manipulative, mentally, emotionally abusive household. Your parents are beyond assholes. I second the person saying go to your school with your diagnosis and explain that your parents say ADHD doesn't exist, but that you're having a lot of difficulty. Ask the psychologist to send a note saying you need accommodations for studying and exams. Why should your future be ruined because your parents are narrow-minded? Not the asshole. A diagnosis isn't a cop-out. It's simply a guide to understanding what tools you need to succeed. Having a diagnosis doesn't mean you now have an excuse to make certain choices. It means you can finally understand a bit better how to be the person you want to be. I'm sure it also brings a sense of relief, because you now know for certain that yes, certain things are actually harder for you. You're not lazy, you just never had the right tools. Ignore your parents and live your best life. And write a nice thank you to your boyfriend's sister. Not the asshole. They're gaslighting you about you not taking accountability when it is they who refuse to take accountability and shirking their responsibility for getting you the diagnosis and treatment you should have had years ago, thus making your life and education much harder than it should have been. You are taking responsibility for yourself in making sure that you are able to function to the best of your ability. Not the asshole. I'm so sorry that your parents have effectively been abusing you by denying you a diagnosis and any support you may have needed in order to reach your full potential. I'm super proud of you for doing this for yourself so you can achieve your goals with any necessary accommodations. Imagine how much more fruitful everything will be now. Not the asshole. As someone who had undiagnosed ADHD and found out when I was 27, you could be saving yourself from a lot of hurt down the road. Dealing with it when you're in a structured school environment is much different than dealing with it in a college or career setting. You can develop tools now that will be helpful in a few years when you're on your own. Some common issues with undiagnosed adult ADHD are depression and anxiety. You are doing so much good for yourself by finding this out now. Definitely not the asshole. Talk to your parents, they'll come around eventually. They probably think you cooked up a story with the help of BF's sister to avoid responsibility. Tell them to talk to whoever tested you. They'll confirm that the test was legit and back you up, as well as inform your parents of the implications of the diagnosis. Definitely not the asshole. As a 17-yo, you have a right to make decisions about your body. Edit. Apology for misgendering the op below. But since the downvote pile-on is here, the op is not the asshole. ADHD explains the studying issues, and the diagnosis, while not an excuse, provides him an opportunity to learn tools that I and others with ADHD use to excel with studying and deadlines. They exist and they're so helpful and have made a huge difference in my life. This diagnosis is the starting point for him to take control and succeed whatever way he defines for himself. Welcome. There's ADHD women. You're not the asshole. Diagnosis explains and does not excuse behavior. You now can learn new tools to excel when you want. ADHD didn't exist in their day. Are your parents the Flintstones? I was formally diagnosed with ADHD in 1978. It may not have been as widely known, but it definitely existed. And, for what it's worth, your first paragraph sounded like classic ADHD to me, even before I read your diagnosis. Fortunately for you, we know a lot more about ADHD than when I was a kid, and there are a lot more resources available: books, medicines, support groups, and so forth. Knowing yourself, and understanding your strengths and weaknesses is the first step. So, congratulations and welcome to the club. It's not always easy, but it can be quite fun. And, so very much not the asshole. Not the asshole. I don't understand why they're saying that your diagnosis is your way of not taking responsibility. What are you not taking responsibility for? It's not like you can go back and your grades will be changed. You just have a diagnosis and hopefully a plan to treat it and improve your situation. I also wasn't diagnosed with ADHD until I was 17. That was over a decade ago and my parents still think it's made up. But my life is better now that I'm on medication and able to function normally. Take care of yourself and listen to your doctors. ADD in girls doesn't look like it does in boys, so girls are ignored. Not the asshole for wanting to be healthy. Not the asshole. At some point you have to take control of your mental health, and that's something parents just don't understand. My mom would never let me see anyone for mental health help. She said I was overdramatic. Finally got to see someone and now have a slew of diagnoses that possibly could have been under control by now. I'd hate to see you go through that at all. Look out for yourself. Not the asshole. Glad to hear you finally got a diagnosis. Check out our ADHD to see how common ADHD is and how a diagnosis is an important step to living up to your potential, or at least making your life a bit easier. Not the asshole. I was diagnosed in my 30s by my therapist. I never considered it until she brought it up. Academically I excelled, but in hindsight I had a lot of executive functioning issues, procrastination, always late, etc. My mom struggled to accept it, but it makes so much sense. Even just being aware of it helps, and I'm able to come up with better coping strategies. Check out our ADHD. There is a lot of good tips there. ADHD has always existed. Our medical technology is getting more advanced. So obviously doctors will find new conditions, illnesses, etc. Not the asshole. My husband and daughter both have ADHD combined, inattentive and hyperactive. My husband received his diagnosis after our daughter, not an uncommon situation. While he was able to cope through graduate school, getting the proper diagnosis and care helps so much. After my mill passed away, my husband found a letter from the school suggesting that he get evaluated for ADHD. My daughter's psychologist told us it was better for her to have a diagnosis than to have others give her their own labels. Our insane parents. ADHD didn't exist in their day. That's a lie. Not the asshole.